Springboks v All Blacks decider could head to the USA, an historic first stone of rugby's most iconic rivalries may be set for a groundbreaking new chapter, with reports suggesting that a decisive Springboks versus All Blacks test could be staged in the United States later this year. According to South African outlet Rapport, SA Rugby and New Zealand Rugby are close to finalizing an agreement that would see the fourth and final test of the upcoming greatest rivalry series played on American soil. If confirmed, it would mark a significant moment not only for the two rugby powerhouses, but also for the global expansion ambitions of the sport as it builds toward the 2031 Rugby World Cup in the USA. A series steeped in history, the 2026 tour will see the All Blacks return to South Africa for a full test series against the Springboks, something that has not happened since 1996. While the two nations have met regularly in the Rugby Championship and World Cups, a standalone test series between rugby's most successful sides has been absent for nearly 3 decades. Under the current plans, Scott Robertson's New Zealand side will face South Africa in 3 tests on home soil, with matches scheduled at Ellis Park in Johannesburg, DHL Stadium in Cape Town, and FNB Stadium. In addition, the All Blacks will take on all 4 South African United Rugby Championship franchises, the Stormers, Sharks, Bulls, and Lions, making the tour one of the most demanding itineraries any visiting team has faced in the professional era. However, it is the still unconfirmed 4th test that has generated the most intrigue, the USA emerging as frontrunner when the tour details were first announced in October. SA Rugby and NZ Rugby deliberately left the venue for the final test open. At the time, speculation centered around traditional neutral venues, such as Twickenham in London or Dublin's Aviva Stadium. Both options would have guaranteed a sellout crowd and minimal logistical risk. Instead, momentum now appears to be shifting firmly towards the United States. According to Rapport, the two unions are close to an agreement that would see the series decider played in America, with a precise venue yet to be confirmed. Soldier Field in Chicago, which has previously hosted high-profile international tests, is widely believed to be among the leading contenders, though other major stadiums are also understood to be under consideration. Strategic growth ahead of the 2031 World Cup, the potential move is far more than a novelty experiment. With the Rugby World Cup heading to the USA in 2031, World Rugby and its major stakeholders are keen to capitalize on momentum in what is widely viewed as the sport's most important growth market. The All Blacks, in particular, have made no secret of their desire to expand their brand footprint in North America. New Zealand Rugby has previously acknowledged financial pressures and sees marquee events like a Springboks decider as a way to drive both revenue and global engagement. The success of recent tests in the USA has only strengthened that belief. When New Zealand faced Ireland at Soldier Field in November 2025, nearly 60,000 fans packed the iconic stadium. That fixture followed Ireland's historic first-ever win over the All Blacks at the same venue in 2016, a match that remains one of the most significant moments in modern Irish rugby history. From a commercial and promotional perspective, a Springboks All Blacks decider would represent an even bigger draw, a growing history in America, while a neutral venue showdown between South Africa and New Zealand in the USA would be unprecedented. Both nations have prior experience playing international rugby. On American soil, the Springboks first appeared in the United States in 2001, facing the USA Eagles in Houston. More notably, South Africa played Wales in Washington, D.C. in 2018. A match that marked Rassie Erasmus' first game in charge as head coach and helped lay the foundations for their subsequent World Cup triumph in Japan. The All Blacks, meanwhile, have visited the USA more frequently. They played the Eagles in Chicago in 2014 and again in 2021, winning convincingly on both occasions. Their clashes with Ireland at Soldier Field in 2016 and 2025, however, demonstrated that the American market can host high-stakes, competitive tests with genuine atmosphere and intensity. Those experiences have convinced both unions that a marquee neutral test between rugby's two most decorated nations could be a watershed moment. Sporting stakes remain paramount while the commercial upside is clear. The sporting implications are just as compelling. A 4th test on neutral soil would ensure that the series remains alive deep into the tour, rather than allowing it to be decided early by home advantage alone. For Scott Robertson, who faces his most demanding assignment since taking over as All Blacks head coach, the tour represents a defining challenge. His side will be tested not only by the Springboks' physicality, but also by the relentless grind of playing provincial heavyweights before crossing continents for a decider. South Africa, meanwhile, will view the series as a chance to reassert dominance over their greatest rivals on a global stage. With back-to-back World Cup titles under their belt, the Springboks are acutely aware that the All Blacks remain the benchmark against which their legacy will ultimately be judged. At a neutral venue decider would strip away familiar comforts for both teams, turning the final test into a pure examination of adaptability, depth, and mental resilience. Rare neutral encounters historically, Springboks. All Blacks tests at neutral venues have been extremely rare outside of World Cups. The two sides met twice in Australia during the 2021 Rugby Championship due to pandemic restrictions, and they faced off at Twickenham in 2023 in a World Cup warm-up fixture. Those matches provided a glimpse of how compelling the rivalry can be when removed from its traditional settings. A USA decider would elevate that concept to an entirely new level. A statement of intent for global rugby, if confirmed. Staging the series decider in the United States would send a powerful message about rugby's future direction. Rather than relying solely on traditional markets, the sport's leading nations appear ready to take bold steps to expand its reach. For American audiences, a Springboks All Blacks test would offer an unfiltered introduction to rugby at its highest level. For purists, it would add another unique chapter to the sport's most storied rivalry. Ultimately, whether the final whistle is blown in Chicago or elsewhere, the very possibility of such a match highlights how the global landscape of rugby is evolving, and how its greatest rivalry continues to lead the way.